latest brands, getting the most expensive jewelry. She's getting all this great stuff, and it's like, yeah, that's cool, but what does that have to do with Rachel and Nick? Hi, beautiful people. I am Sierra from Magic Within Words, and you are on my YouTube channel. And I got a microphone. Hopefully, this is working. I hope it is. I hope it really is working. So anyway, I do videos on books, book reviews, book recommendations, and I want to lean more into like spirituality eventually on the way. So if those are things that you're interested in, you can subscribe to my channel and you can just continue on into the video. So first, I am going to go down memory lane a little bit. Yes, last week I did a video on reading my cringy story. If anyone is very familiar with writing on any sort of platform, whether it be Wattpad, fanfic, oh my god, there's so many. I can't think of all of them. But any platform like that where you had to write your own story. Some people wrote, fanfic, a lot of people wrote fan fiction, but when you created your own story with your own characters, God help us all. That's what I did. I did that back in like 20, I forgot what year I put. If anything, you can check out the video. I'll drop it in the description below. I'll link it up somewhere if I can. I'm still learning all the ways to put things into the videos and everything like that. But the story was called Gracie's Locket. It was very terrible. If you would like to listen to a 4-hour cringe session, you can find that in the description box below or on my YouTube channel. And it was a ride. It was definitely a ride. It was something very interesting to navigate. It's been a long time since I've looked at that book, and I kind of got away with it. just like the plot in general, it was just very, very out there. But anyway, that was last week's video. But in today's video, we're going to be talking about the books I'm reading so far for March. So, two of my books are technically February books. I didn't get a chance to finish them, let alone barely start them last month. So this month is dedicated to two of those books, so I can at least try to get them done if I can. If not, we'll see how this goes. It might just go straight into April as well. I don't know. Hopefully I'll be done with them by then. We'll just see how it all goes for the most part. Anyway, let's start off with my first book, and that is Crazy Rich Asians. So I've seen it all over on social media. I've seen it everywhere in Hollywood because obviously it was created into a movie. And I found it to be interesting, but I never just got around to it. I'm gonna put this down. I just never got around to it. So this was my first time actually reading the book. I've never seen the movie either. I know I'm a terrible person, but I want to read the book first. So I was like, okay, let me go ahead and read the book first. Let me see how it's gonna be. And so far, I'm on page. What page am I on? I'm on page 192. So I'm literally just starting chapter 4. Damn, chapter 4? That's it? Okay. That's a lot already. And I will say, so far, I do like the story. I do. I really do. I really do like the story. My thing is, can we just stick to Rachel and Nick? That's just my whole point of the past 192 pages. Is can we stick to Rachel and Nick, please? I feel like the whole point of Crazy Rich Asians is supposed to be a rom-com in a sense. There's some social class. There's some just social class. I can't talk. Um, and just influences in that way of how they see uh they're same people but in a different culture. So, you know, people who have lived and grew up in Asia versus Asian Americans, you know, that kind of difference, kind of like how, you know, African Americans versus actual people who live in Africa, actual Africans. So that kind of aspect of it, I understand, I get it. My thing was, though, what purpose does Nick's cousin serve at all? Her chapters are okay. It's a lot of information, a lot of drama, obviously, because if you haven't read it, I'm going to put in spoilers here, but I'm assuming about 99% of people in America, at least, have seen the movie or at least read the book at some point. But pretty much, Nick's cousin, I forgot her name. Oh my god. Jesus Christ, I don't remember the cousin's name. Anyway, Nick's cousin is married and her husband is having an affair. And she's like super rich. She flies to different countries all the time. She's always getting like the latest brands, you know, getting the most expensive jewelry. You know, she's getting all this great stuff and it's like, yeah, that's cool, but what does that have to do with Rachel and Nick? Like I'm honestly very confused on what that has to do with anything. Hopefully I figure it out. Hopefully it's, you know, more cohesive later on in the story. I hope. But so far, like, that's my main take. It's a good story. I really like it so far. I just don't know how she fits in. Also, too many characters. I can barely keep track of who is who is his cousin. So many cousins, so many family members. Um, and the one point of view I feel like I would want to see more of is his mom's opinion. And so far it seems like mom doesn't really care. That's what it seems like to me, that mom doesn't care about Nick and Rachel's relationship, or the fact that Nick brought someone home. Like, is that me? Is that just me? I think it's just me. But that's the take I'm getting. But I expected it to be more of like mom in his face about it, in Rachel's face about it. Maybe that picks up maybe later on in the book, but that's kind of like the gist of what I get at the beginning, is like she doesn't care. She doesn't care that she's there. She doesn't care that Nick brought her. She's just more of just like very aloof about it, you know? At least that's what I'm picking up on. Um but yeah, that's really the main points that I have so far with it. I'm I'm just curious to see. I'm just curious to see how it goes so far. I'm just to see like how the rest kind of pans out. I mean, there's what 19 chapters in here, so I have a ways to go. So we'll have to see. We'll have to see. We'll have to see. Now the next book is completely different. It's actually called London After Midnight. Oh dear God, London After Midnight, and it's a collection of short stories, all about the crime, murders, and all that fun stuff in London. And all the short stories are written by different authors. Like there's Agatha Christie, P.D. James, Graham Greene, a lot of others. And I picked up this book because I actually went to London. I loved it. I really did. I loved London. You know, minus the history of it. Anyway, but I did love London, and I was really fascinated by all of the stuff that they went through, like with the Great Fire, Jack the Ripper, the plague, everything. Ah, I loved it. I was very intrigued by it. And so finding this book, I was just like, oh, okay. At first, I thought it was gonna be um like just like a main focus, but then obviously I clearly didn't read the cover of the book when I grabbed it. I just saw London After Midnight. I was like, ooh. And so after reading the cover, when I saw, I was like, oh, it's other stories in there. I was even more intrigued. I'm like, okay, you guys are talking about the different things that have happened in London. So, what is it going to be like? Different takes? Is it going to be nonfiction? Is it going to be fiction? Like, kind of like what? How is it going to pan out? In each story. And so far, I have to say, it's pretty good so far. Granted, I'm only Jesus, I just lost my place. Uh I think I would say, what was it? What page was that? 37. Yikes. I don't think I'm gonna make it with this book finishing up in March. This might just become an April book too. Jesus. But so far, I would say my favorite story would have to be the first one because it's about Jack the Ripper and how the gun is actually possessed. Like it actually holds some type of entity to it that causes murders. I'm saying that very loosely, but I kind of liked that approach in a way of just like making it more like haunting and like scary and ominous versus like, oh, this is just a person who clearly just wanted to kill, making it like, ooh, what if he didn't want to do it? Maybe it was I don't know, it was making him do it. Kind of like a not who done it, but like, oh my god, this is so outrageous. Very much so like that. Um, I can't say much to it since I am only 37 pages in, but so far it's pretty good. It's giving so far fiction in my eyes. It's nonfiction because it's based off of true events, but the stories are very like loosely based as what I'm reading so far. Maybe some of them are actually like nonfiction, but especially with the Jack the Ripper story, it feels a little bit more fiction, but with a historical element to it. I guess it's historical fiction. I guess that's what how you can categorize it. I never read historical fiction, so if you read historical fiction, would you categorize this as historical fiction? Let me know in the comments. I'm just gonna go ahead and jump to a new one that I have the physical copy, but I'm using Audible, and that is Sing Unburied Sing by Jessamine Ward. And so I don't remember how I got this copy. It wasn't through Book of the Month. I know it has the Book of the Month logo in the corner, but I think I got it from a thrift store. I get a lot of my books from thrift stores. Um, and yeah, I was just like, ooh, there's a bird on it. Okay, interesting. And the title just captured me. So I don't know. When I see a book, if it looks interesting enough, if the summary is good enough, I'll take it home and I'm like, I'm gonna read it one day. And so this is how I ended up with Sing Unburied Sing. But my thing was, these are 4 physical books. 4. And I've noticed lately when it comes for me with reading, I am having a harder time reading a physical book. I don't know why. Maybe it's because of lack of time, lack of focus. But it's very hard to sit down and read a physical book. I don't know what it is. So I told myself, you know what? Let's find one of these books on Audible. Let's see if any of these books are on Audible. And I chose Sing Unburied Sing. I don't know why, but I just chose that one. I was already like 100 pages into Crazy Rich Asians, so I kind of just like said, let's just go ahead and read the physical book. London After Midnight, I don't see it anywhere. Like, it's a weird posting on Amazon. Like, someone actually took a picture of the book and put it on Amazon. So it's not like a company actually sells the copies. It was very interesting. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. But that was my take on those two. So I was like, okay, let me do Sing Unburied Sing on Audible. And I will say, dear God, those chapters are long. I'm only on chapter like 4 or 5, I think. 4. I'm on 4. Obviously, I'm using my phone, so I can't check, but I'm on chapter 4. And listening to them, it's like 40 minutes each. I have an hour. I do an hour each morning while I'm doing stuff with family upstairs, putting my cousins on the bus. I take an hour to listen to the audiobook, and I barely get through a chapter and a half. So, there's that. I will say it's a lot of information. There's a lot going on in the story, and listening to it, I feel like I should actually physically read it. I know that's a little bit different than what I'm used to, but it feels very, I wouldn't say fast paced, but it feels like I need to focus more on the words, focus more on the storyline versus all the other books that I listen to on my Audible. It's not that I'm not paying attention, I am, but the book moves at such a very fast pace of like what's happening. It's very much like real life. A lot of the books I read on Audible are by like Alexandria House, J.L. Seeger. They're very fast paced. It's like one incident after another keeps it moving. I will have to like stop and be like, "Ooh, okay, that was interesting." But with this one, I feel compelled to just like actually sit and read it and actually kind of like understand the story a little bit more by physically reading it. Like, the story is really good. I like it so far. It's just that as listening to it, I can be in the moment, listening to the story, learning characters, learning the setting, what's going on, and then all of a sudden I'll get distracted by something, get distracted by something, and then as soon as I get back to it, I'm I don't know what's happening. I don't know who the character is talking. Maybe it's just me because like I zoned out for a moment, but it kind of like it kind of shifts, and then I'm like, oh, did I miss something? And then I have to rewind it, and it's like, oh snap, I did miss something. So it's kind of harder that way. So I feel like I'll enjoy it more if I physically read it. So I might just go ahead and like transfer that over and read it physically. Yeah, that's probably what I'll just end up doing. So that's just how it is sometimes. You switch around the type of media that you use to consume your book. Either it's physically, through Audible, through an ebook or electronic copy, and this one has to be read physically from the book. Okay. Well, then the last one, I haven't started it yet, but it is The Other World by Jason Segel and Kristen Miller. Kirsten Miller. And I haven't started it yet. Obviously, I just said that. Um, but I love the concept. I love the concept of like um entering a world, like, oh, entering this type of, I wouldn't say not world, but just like this type of situation. It's like, well, you can get everything that you want, or this is like the life you could have if you like make certain decisions. And so I kind of like that uh that element, that story. So I was just like, ooh, okay, it's gonna be a little intriguing. It's like, what's gonna happen? And then as I was reading the summary blurb, it got really intriguing. I'm like, okay, I think I'm gonna really like this book, and the fact that it's kind of written based off of Westworld, and my boyfriend was literally just talking to me about Westworld like last weekend, so I have to let him know that, hey, the book I'm going to be reading is kind of based off the show that you told me about that you want to start watching. So there's that. So after reading that, I feel like I'll have a little bit more appreciation for the show and actually be, watch it with him. But those are all of my books for March that I'm currently reading. Some are clearly a work in progress. Some are just obviously going to be an April book too. So you're just going to see one or two of these books you're going to see again in the next video, in the next month actually. In the next month. Just be aware of it. Just be aware of it because it's not going to be finished. If I do finish it, I will be completely surprised. I'll be completely surprised. I'll be completely shocked. But yeah, that's my video for the books I'm reading for March. If you like this video, be sure to like the video, comment, share, subscribe. What books are you reading for March right now? How are they going? Are you halfway through any of them? Did you finish any of them? Or did you DNF any of them already? Because I am strongly trying not to DNF a book this early in the year. Maybe September. But I'm trying not to DNF a book. But if I have to, I'll have to. That'll be a whole other subject for a whole other video. But yeah. So thank you for watching and check out my channel.